Texas House Democratic Caucus Chair Chris Turner of Grand Prairie. Thank you so much for joining us today. You and other organizations have announced that you have filed a petition with the Texas Supreme Court to overturn Governor Abbott's recent veto of the legislature's portion of the budget. Tell us about it and why today.
Sure, Jack. Well, yes, today 66 Democratic members of the Texas House of Representatives and a number of legislative caucuses, state employees, Texas AFL-CIO filed for a petition for a writ of mandamus, basically to stop Governor Abbott's veto from taking effect. The governor's action is an abuse of power. It's a violation of the separation of powers that's enshrined in the Texas Constitution. The governor is a governor. He's not a dictator. He's not an emperor. He doesn't get to cancel out an entire co-equal branch of government. So that's why we filed this petition in the Supreme Court today, and we hope the court will act on it quickly.
You said before that it's an abuse of power. Can you get into maybe talk a little bit more about that? Because on one hand, he does have veto power of line items in the budget. So why would this be any different?
Sure. The governor certainly does have veto power. But the way the governor has used it in this case is completely inappropriate. And his public statements since the session ended are the evidence of that. The governor basically said, since I didn't get my way, and I didn't get some bills that I wanted to see passed, I'm gonna cancel the legislative branch of government and completely defund it. That's not the way democracy works. The governor gets to have his say. The legislature gets to have its say. The governor doesn't get to hold a gun to the head of the legislature and say, give me what I want or else. And that's what the governor, in effect, has done here. And so that's why we've filed the petition. And it should be noted, this is unprecedented. The governors have used line item vetoes for a long time in Texas. Never has a governor tried to line item veto the entire legislative branch. If he gets away with this, what's next? If the judiciary issues court decisions that he disagrees with, he can zero out the judicial branch too. Where does it end? And so it's a really dangerous precedent if the governor, in fact, gets away with this. And that's why we're taking this to the Supreme Court.
How confident are you that the Texas Supreme Court, which has all Republican members, is going to side with you?
Look, we think we have a strong argument, and you know we're waiting for the Supreme Court now that it's filed. The Supreme Court will let us know what the briefing schedule is, and we'll make those arguments to the court. But I think the court is concerned with upholding the laws and upholding the Constitution of the state of Texas, and I think they're going to want to hear the arguments.
And as far as I know, it was a 133-page document. It was pretty voluminous, and I'll admit I haven't had a chance to go through it. But in speaking with attorneys who represent the House Democratic Caucus, was there anything that they could take away from the Texas Constitution that points, right to your point that the governor, while he has a line item veto authority, he does not have authority to just cancel out a whole section of the legislature's budget?
Well, there's a lot of information in the petition that was filed that speaks to that. I think most significantly, the separation of powers is well accepted as a national principle in our federal Constitution. Interestingly, the separation of powers is not explicitly stated in the U.S. Constitution. It is, however, explicitly spelled out in the Texas Constitution, and we speak to that in this petition. And so that's obviously a key piece of information as we move forward with this petition.
And let me ask you, while we're discussing, obviously the governor has called a special session for July 8th. And do you think this will be resolved before then? And if it isn't, doesn't the legislature going to have to act to restore that budget? And is that something that would be done first, or is that something that would be done after the other, items on the call?
Well, in terms of the timing, our lawyers have recommended some dates for additional briefings at the Supreme Court, but that's the Supreme Court's decision. So we'll obviously follow whatever schedule the court sets forth. But with respect to the special session, the governor's announced a special session with no agenda, no stated purpose yet to this point. So we'll have to see what the governor decides to do on that. But right now, the legislature remains funded through August 31st. So there's still a couple months to work all this out. And we certainly expect that we'll have some resolution from the court, hopefully well before then.
And my last question to you, is there anything that you would like to see put on the call besides some of what we have heard the governor mention before with elections integrity, bail reform, critical race theory, and social media censorship? Are there items that you would like to see continually addressed?
Yes, and I think I'd like to see none of the items you just mentioned addressed, because they're all solutions in search of problems. But what I think my constituents would like us to address are, the healthcare crisis in Texas, where we lead the nation in the number of uninsured and have the highest rate of uninsured in the country. We need to expand healthcare access. We need to continue to shore up our electric grid, which was under strain again last week, unexpectedly. And I think those are the issues that the people of Texas want us to address, not made up partisan issues that are just intended to fire at voters in the next Republican primary.
All right, Texas House Democratic Caucus Chair Chris Turner of Grand Prairie, thank you so much for your time and your insight today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack.